Up on stage right now. What's your name? Share it with all the people.
Zoe.
Give it up for Zoe, the soon-to-be champion.
All right. Oh, my gosh.
Gauntlet's
Cool.
been thrown.
That's her camper. She's super excited. Send your kid to Spring Hill. They will love you. Or come out after. So the game that we're going to play, guys, it's called Fail Guess. So some of you guys have heard of maybe an epic fail before. Have you guys heard of an epic fail? Maybe. It's like America's Funniest Home Video. So like stuff just going absolutely wrong, which doesn't help you guys probably either. But it might help some of you older people in the crowd
An
tonight.
epic fail is when Steve Andrews tries to tell a joke during the sermon.
Ooh. He has a burn. He has a burn on his side now from that.
I'll be looking for a new job soon, folks. So if anybody needs a kids programmer.
Okay. So
Anyway.
what the game is going to be, it will show the first part of a video. And so we'll show the first part. You guys all get to participate. There'll be a question. It'll stop and it'll say, what do you think happens next? So you guys can all help them by saying what you think happens next. There'll be multiple choice. So there'll either be like 2 or 3 choices about what it could be. And the first 1 to 3 correct wins. Sound good?
You got it, Zoe?
Awesome.
All right.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's see our first fail. So it's going to be up on the screen, so make sure you can see.
Can you look at the screen, Zoe?
Okay, so there's a man standing in a mall at the top of an escalator. He is balancing an iPad on top of his head. Do you think, first, do you think the iPad will fall off? Do you think the iPad will get knocked off? Or do you think the man will fall off of the hoverboard? So A, B, or C? What do you think, Annabelle?
B.
She thinks B.
Right, she's going B.
What does Zoe think?
All right, she thinks the iPad is going to get knocked off. Zoe, what do you think is going to happen next?
B.
Ooh,
You're going to go with
both
B.
think. They
All right,
agree.
Playing
They
a little
agree.
safe. That's all right. Let's see what happens.
So,
Oh,
and they're both
atta
right.
girl.
A little bugger. Good job,
1 to
Annabelle.
1. 1 to 1.
1 to 1. All right. We can go all night with these. So if you guys keep just saying the same things.
You got to win by 2 or no? Never mind. All right, let's see. Here's our next video, right? Coming up. Let's see what happens next.
Okay.
Is the man going to get hit with the frisbee in the leg? Is the girl going to get run over by a big wheel? Or is the man going to get hit with the frisbee in the face? A, B, or C? I just noticed that we're going to have to make them watch
turn away.
the screen.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think he's going to get hit in the leg with the frisbee? Or hit in the face with the frisbee? Or what was B?
Face, leg, or girl get run over by a big wheel.
Girl get run over by the big wheel. What do you think is going to happen?
Leg.
In the leg? She's
Okay.
going with the leg. That was
what do you
C. No, A. That was A.
Okay, Annabelle, what do you think?
C.
Let's watch.
So that is in the face. So let's go ahead and watch.
Here we go. Oh! In the face.
Got it in the face.
That's all right. That was a good guess. That's all
Annabelle
right.
got
That's all
it.
right. It's 2 to 1.
So it's 2 to 1. So we're going to our next fail. Yes, let's
Look right up here.
All right. So something falls in the next sequence. Do you think it's the picture, the person, or the piano? So A, B, or C?
C.
So that was the piano. What is... Oh, wait. Which one? Picture, person, or piano?
Person.
Okay. Annabelle thinks it's the person.
Okay. Now, do you think a picture, a person, or the piano is going to fall? You can get some help if you want.
Picture?
Okay.
She's going with picture.
All right. Let's
Popular
see.
decision. All right.
It was the picture.
All right. Hey, high five. You got that one.
Now we're tied
Is it
up.
2 to 2?
2 to 2. We'll see
Here
what
we go.
happens. We got...
All right. Let's look right up here. Let's see what the next one is. See what's going to happen. All right. Oh, this looks like bad news already. All right. So what is going to fail? Is it going to be the trampoline or the swing set? Which one do you think is going to break? The trampoline or the swing set?
Swing set?
Swing set. She's going with swing set. All right.
Annabelle, what do you think it's going to be?
I like it.
Swing set.
Okay, they both say the swing set. Let's watch and see what happens.
Let's see what happens. It was the swing set.
It was the swing set. So we're tied 3-3. So we're to the last one.
All right, we'll do one more.
The next one.
You know, if they tie, then they're both winners, right?
Yes, so that's great. So let's go ahead.
See.
Okay, so either the dog is going to run her over. She's on a sled. So either the dog runs her over, she gets out of the way, or the last one is that the dog takes the sled. So Annabelle, out of those three, so either she gets run over, she gets out of the way, or the dog takes the sled. What do you think?
The dog takes the sled.
Okay.
Dog takes the sled.
You want to try to pick a different one?
So either they're going to win together or lose together.
Yeah, that's right. They're in
find
it
out.
all
That's
the
what
way.
family does, right?
And the dog
So you guys
takes
win.
the sled.
You guys both won.
They're both winners.
That's awesome.
High fives right in the middle. Let's give it up for our grand champions. Outstanding.
Incredible.
All right, you guys can go have a seat.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Hey.
We'll have to come back next week and have a rubber match.
See who wins.
All right.
Cool. Awesome. Well, our band's coming out. We've got a great night planned. And a lot of our team here is students. And yeah, they're great. They're talented. Or a lot of our team is with just a part of our student team, honestly. We have some great servants who have been a part of that community for a few years now. And we just got back, some of us, from a camp called NTS that you're going to hear some other students. It's the greatest camp. It's the greatest camp that I will say. I do all of my impressions, by the way, are just Drew Daniels impersonating other people. So anyways, it's a great camp, and some of our students are going to be up later to kind of share about what God did in their lives. But as we transition here into worship, I'd really just encourage you guys to know the first song we're going to sing is "What a Beautiful Name." So a lot of you guys know that song. We've sung it quite a bit. But when we first started singing it as a church, I was like, man, I don't know if anybody else feels like this ever, but I was like, man, I'm just wrestling with it. I don't know if I agree with it. I don't know if I believe. And the reason being is there's this line in the bridge that says, "You have no rival, you have no equal." And I was wrestling. I was like, I'm a sports fan, and I'm like, there's rivalry in sports when teams compete. And I'm like, okay, so there's God and there's the enemy, and there's this competing nature. But so I'm like struggling to sing this song, and what I felt like God was saying is, no, I have no competition. I have no equal. I have no rival. So even though we experience things, we go through circumstance and we carry burdens. And I don't know what all of you walked in here with tonight, but I want you to know that God has no rival in your circumstance, that he has no rival in your burdens. He actually takes our burdens. Matthew 11 says that, "Come to me all who labor and are heavy burdened, and I'll give you rest." Jesus takes our burdens. He gives us rest. And so tonight, I would just encourage you guys to come before the Father and allow him to speak to you, to speak over your family, and to speak over your circumstance, and to believe that God truly has no rival. But will you stand with us as we worship tonight? It's going to be a great night.
Now revealed It's already been done. You can't add to his blood. It was once for all. The Father gave his Son forever. And forever we are changed by the miracle of grace. Throughout history, the Father's light remains. And praises rise endlessly, and we lay our lives before the King who was and who is. His love will always be the hope for all eternity. And we've only just begun to see all of heaven come. Every fear will bow at the Father's perfect love. Your kingdom is at hand, and the gates of hell won't stand. Now in victory, we'll lift our song again. Lift it up. Praises rise endlessly. We lift our lives before the King who was and who is. 'Cause his love will always be the hope for all eternity. Open up the doors, 'cause we are ready, we are ready. We're crying out for more, 'cause in your presence we come alive. Oh, and open up the doors, 'cause we are ready, we are ready. We're crying, oh, we're crying out for more, 'cause in your presence we come alive. Louder, and open up the doors, 'cause we are ready, we are ready. Crying out for more, in your presence we come alive.
have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Still your love fought for me. And you have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. And you have been so, so kind. Deserve it, still you give yourself away. All the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Snow wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Sing that out. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, there's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Oh, there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow
Leading up to NTS, I was already thinking about how the camp will compare to PCB and the Wild Retreat. This made me become hesitant about my small group because there's only 2 Shelby guys going. Luckily, I was grouped with the Troy junior and senior boys. Throughout the week, God worked in us and through us while helping us to grow our friendships. I got closer with my old friends from PCB and got close with the new ones. I began to realize at this camp that it wouldn't be like the rest. God was going to use me in this camp to relax myself and help me become a leader in my small group at Shelby. During one of the sessions, Santi said, God shows up and shows out. At NTS, God showed me that even in the times of questioning and doubt, that His love will prevail.
I just recently came back from NTS camp. I can definitely say I will never be the same. The past few years in my life have been difficult because of medical reasons, but I have remained faithful through all things I faced. I wanted more though. I wanted a relationship with God. This was my 2nd year at NTS. Before going, I prayed for a life-changing experience. It wasn't until the second to last night my prayer was answered. The speaker at the camp said that anyone who wants to surrender their life to God, now is the time. It was without any hesitation that my legs just started moving, and next thing I knew, I was standing at the front of the stage surrendering my life to God. Now I understand God only does things for a reason, and that I'll trust in Him for all things. I will now be a witness to Him and His people. I am truly never the same.
Expectations have been a struggle for me for a while. Whether they're low or they're high expectations, they always seem to put things in boxes that don't belong there. And that's exactly what I tried to do with NTS. But the cool thing about God is He doesn't meet our expectations, He surpasses them. Yeah, so God didn't give me what I expected. He gave me a new heart for girls younger than me. He gave me words to speak to them and ears to listen to them. And so by God changing their lives, it changed mine.
When I went to NTS camp, I knew I was going to have a great time because of my experience last year and a great place to find peace and happiness. This year was a little different. I didn't think I was going to have a great time because of how sad and depressed I was from the passing of my father. Another reason is that I had an onset stress fracture in my left ankle, so I couldn't play any of the sports or team comps. Overall, I thought I wasn't going to have a good time, and I don't think God was there with me. One of the small group leaders at camp, Chad, told us a few stories. One story is about him accepting Christ in his life. He accepted Christ at a church camp. Once he got home from his camp, the school year was starting. He said one of his friends broke his shoulder, and his friend was starting to believe that he wasn't with him. So Chad prayed for his friend's shoulder, and God healed it in that one little prayer. I said, wow, that's pretty amazing. Then Chad asked if anyone in our small group had any injuries. I told him about my ankle, but I didn't really believe that God was going to heal my ankle. Chad started to pray for my ankle, and I started to tremble instantly. It was crazy. I tested it out and jogged around where we were. The pain was completely gone. I didn't feel the pain in my... I didn't feel the pain in my left ankle that was there for 3 months. I couldn't train or play sports or do anything that I loved. The pain was gone. I heard God telling me that I heard God telling me that I never left you, I never will. You just have to accept me again. So I started to ask, what do you want me to do? What do I have to do to accept you again? But then I didn't really hear anything. I got confused. I didn't know what to do. The next day came, and at the main session, the pastor told us to bow our heads and invited us to accept God into our lives. Then he told us to stand up on the count of 3 if accepting Jesus as our Savior was what we wanted to do. So that's exactly what I did. I stood up and walked down front, and as we spoke over us. Sam, who was our other small group leader, prayed for me too, and at the end of the prayer, I heard God and my dad say, "You did it." This experience and this community has shown me that there were people who can relate and truly care about me, and everyone should have at least one person that can do that for you.
Sing this out. Oh, the deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99, and we didn't earn it, and we don't deserve it, still he gives himself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Father, I just want to say thank you, and how proud I am to be being led by these young people, and their strength and their love for you, and God, how good you are. I just thank you in your name. Amen. Thanks, guys. Man, I always made fun of pastors who cried, and God's just paying me back. He's got a good sense of humor. Well, thanks so much for coming out, everybody. I think I'm so proud. I don't want to start again, but I think I'm just so proud because I've known all these guys for about a few years now, and seeing what I believe they were born to do is really incredible. So, man, wow. Anyways, I'll save my feelings for the therapist's office. Okay. But anyways, right now, I just want to take this moment and even respond with a posture of worship. And I'm going to invite the ushers down to take or receive our offering, rather. And me and my wife, man, we give online, and we love seeing what God does through just being open-handed. And so if you call Kensington home, we'd love to have you participate with us in this moment. And if you're joining us as a guest, there's no pressure to obligate or participate. So we're just so thankful that you're here. Well, hey, so we are at Midweek, and we are in the series called Reckless Love, the reckless love of God. And this is kind of more of an open message. And so tonight is family night, family theme night. And so we're talking about how God has reckless love even inside of families, and how we inside of our families can show the reckless love. And I recognize that not everyone in here, has created their own family. So I just want to say that even if you're here alone or you're single like my 1829 peeps, hey, call them after. Yeah. Everyone in here, and this is how I want to start today, is that all of us have a family. Like, I want to define a family is that these are the people in your life who you are closest to. And so some of us in here, you created a family, you got married and you created a family. For some of us in here, it's the family that you were raised in or that you grew up in. And some of us, it's maybe the family that was added to you. You're starting a second marriage, or maybe you're marrying someone and they had a family. And so you're kind of adding onto you with family. But also there might be some folks in here who are single. Maybe their family doesn't live near them. I think about my Spring Hill Day Camps peeps. You guys are family. Can I just say, I want to give it up to you guys for the amazing job that you guys do every single week in, week out. I did what you guys did for about 4 summers, and I had the time of my life, and you guys are just loving people, loving kids, and what you guys are doing is having an eternal impact, and I just love being able to be a part of it. In fact, I actually met my wife as a Spring Hill counselor, so that's a good omen for some of you. I think you guys should start taking bets about who's going to get married. Maybe it's Brian Petty. Anyways, I won't say who. Oh, shoot. But you guys are family. And so the family are the people in our life who we are closest to. So I wanted to tell you just a little story about one of my family members. I have an identical twin brother. His name is David. And no, he does not have a man bun. No, he does not have long hair. No, we have never switched places. And no, I have never woken up and thought I was him. Because these are all the questions. I just answered all of them. So me and David, man, we are, obviously we're twins. We're identical. We've never switched places, but one time, we do this kind of bit every once in a while. We were at a gym one time down south, and the woman, she saw us, she goes, "Oh my gosh, you guys are twins. Do you guys ever switch places or something?" And my brother just goes, "No, but sometimes we finish and I just go, each other's sentences." And then her head exploded right there. She's like, "Blah, twins, no way." And so, we like to have a lot of fun together. And, he's my closest family. And something that I realize, and I think this is true of all of us who have family, is that family get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and even the annoying of our life. They see the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the annoying of all of our life. And this is exactly like how my brother, we walked, side by side, and, our whole life he got to witness. And so, I loved playing guitar, so he made fun of me because he called me Drew Hendrix. And, I didn't like that because I'm sensitive and I cried a lot as a kid. I was known as the crybaby, but he gave me that nickname. That's the kind of relationship that we had. And so they see the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, I always make fun of him, just because, he's shy and a little bit more gregarious. And so, I pick on him back. And so isn't this true of all of us who have family members, right? That those we love the most, we are the closest to. Those that we love the most, we are closest to. We have a deep love for them, but this is always also true of it, that the people who we love the most, we also have the biggest frustrations with. Am I right? So those we love most, they get into our skin. Those we love the most, they get into our skin. They know exactly how to weave their way right under there. They know exactly which buttons to press. They know exactly the things to say that are going to get you really annoyed. The same people in our life who fill us with love are the same people who can fill us with so much hate and frustration and disappointment. And the greater that there's love in a relationship, the greater the arguments, the greater the conflict resolution that you have to have. This is true of all of us in every single relationship that we have. So for instance, we love our spouses, but man, are they selfish. We love our spouses, but man, aren't they selfish? Or maybe, we love our parents so much, but all of us deep down inside, all of us are still carrying mommy and daddy issues. Every single one of us is walking around with them. And one of my favorite traditions actually is watching adult siblings sit around a table and talk about mom and dad, why they are the way they are. Am I right? Some of you, I'm laughing. Some of you, you know exactly. Why are they? You just have to let them be themselves. And we have to be the parents now. Did you see what mom posted on Facebook? And there's one thing that all of us can agree on is that mom always posts on Facebook. And that someone needs to take that thing away from her. Or maybe for you, we love our kids. We absolutely adore and cherish their kids, but man, they know how to get under and into our skin. We love our kids, but the tone of our teenager's voice proves that Satan is alive and well in the world. Man, there's too much love on that comment. I love you guys. I cried for you, just letting you know. Okay, anyways. Man, your family, I want you to think about this. Your family is one bad Thanksgiving away from being on Dr. Phil. Your family is one bad car ride from ending up on Dr. Phil and having to explain your feelings, cash me outside, have a bad day. You guys are we are all close to being that crazy family where just stuff happens. The people that we love the most, who fill us with the most love, also they simultaneously fill us with the same amount of hate. In fact, scientists actually figured this out, that the same neural circuit that we have for love in our life is the same neural circuit for hate and for anger. This is just something that all of us experience. And so when those we love get into our skin, the sin takes root. The sin takes root in our life. Our sin, not in two places. So for some of us, our sin takes root because we're so frustrated and we begin to have sin in our life. And so for us, we harbor this, when those we love get into our skin, our sin, it begins to take root. And so we begin to have this sin in our family that begins to divide us. And this is exactly what the enemy of our soul loves to do. He loves to divide us. And we all know this. We've seen this all over across the country, is that this is how marriages end. This is how families split apart, is that if there's just enough division that we can cause a disunity inside of the family. So some sins against our family that maybe we experience is judgment and bitterness and anger and gossip. And these are some of the root issues that begin to take root in our life. And even even for those of you who maybe if you didn't grow up in a church, how we define sin is this, that sin is a stubborn self-will, that God is perfect. In Romans 3:23, it says that all of us have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And so all of us have turned away and we've missed the mark of God's perfect standard. So all of us, what this means is that all of us are eternally separated. And so when we have sin in our life, we find ourselves even in a disconnect with God. And this is where we need to have Jesus, who is our Savior, who saves us from the sin and restores a right relationship. And we'll get to that in a minute. But in the meantime, but in the meantime, we have deep roots that take place because of the sin that starts within. And so we have deep roots of judgment. And then we begin to have thoughts about our family that really disturbs the peace inside of our families. Thoughts of the judgment, thoughts of bitterness and anger that we have. And it begins to create a disconnect, and all of us know this, whether it's from a parent to even kids, or kids to parents, or siblings to siblings, or to those who, maybe even extended family members, right? All of us maybe experience this. And then we begin to have these roots, and this is what we actually think about our family members that we maybe keep hidden. And so maybe for us, if you're a parent, we begin to judge our son and daughter. We begin to judge our son and daughter because they've said 1,000 times now that they're going to get it together, and they just haven't. So we judge them in our heart to be irresponsible, and they really can't handle responsibility in their life. So we judge them somewhere deep down in our heart. Or maybe we get bitter at our spouse. We have this long bitterness because you're not pursuing me the way that you did when we were dating. Or or maybe you didn't respect me the way that I wanted you to respect me in front of my family or my friends. And so we begin to get bitter deep in our heart because of the hurt that someone else in our family has caused us. Or maybe we begin to get angry towards our parents because they forced religion down us and they told us that we were never good enough. And so we begin to get angry at our parents for stuff that they either said and did, or for the things that they never did and that you never got. That all of us, the people that we love the most, they get into our skin. And the sin can take bitterness and root. In fact, the author, there's a book in the Bible called Hebrews, and the author talks about this root of bitterness. Now, in the book of Hebrews, we don't really know who wrote the book. It's a little bit anonymous. It could be male. It could even be a woman for all we know. And so this author in the book of Hebrews, he talks about, he keeps realizing a specific sin that keeps getting brought up in their community. And this sin is the sin of what's called apostasy. And apostasy is where someone believed in Jesus, they began to follow him with their whole life, and then at one point they willfully rebelled and decided they didn't want any part of God, and so for the rest of their life they committed the sin of apostasy, meaning they didn't begin to love and trust in Jesus, and so they followed it out to the rest of their life, and they never turned back. And that's what it means to commit the sin of apostasy. And so this is what we find, the Hebrews, this is a lot of what's happening in their heart, is that a lot of people are turning away from God, the Jesus they saw resurrect from the dead, they're turning away from him, and they're not believing that he really is God. And so I think for so many of us, if the root of bitterness really takes place in our heart, maybe because of what someone did to us in our family, then we can begin to find that maybe some people in our own family will begin to wander as well. And so the author of Hebrews talks about this, that maybe just in fact, the root of bitterness may permanently and completely separate someone away from God. That they may actually completely, and so, separate themselves from God. So the authors of Hebrews, he gives two pieces of advice to his people, and this is what we're going to start on. He gives two pieces of advice about how to not fall into apostasy or to not turn away from God. And so the author says this: make every effort to live in peace. Make every single effort that you possibly can to live in peace. And so one of the first things it says is, hey, one of the easiest ways that a root of bitterness can cause up is if you're not in peace with each other. And if there's disunity that's being caused, if there's judgments where you guys be separated. So one way to prevent this from happening is to be at peace with every single person. And then he says the second thing, and with everyone to be holy. To be holy. And the word holy actually means to be set apart, to live a different life. And so he's saying, I want to think about this just for a minute. When we live a holy life, what it means is we live a set apart life that is different from the world. So think about this way, that all of us, if you say that you follow Jesus, that all of us, every single one of us in here, we represent God on the earth. And so if we are to live holy, and when people look at us, that is exactly how God must be. And so he's saying the second way to turn away from God is if you act holy, then people will actually see what God looks like. So please be holy. And that's exactly what he continues to say. He says, without holiness, no one will what? No one will see God. If you don't live a holy and set apart life, no one will see God. If there is no peace, those we love or those who are in our family won't see God. If there is no holiness, those we love won't see God. And so the author continues on. He says this, see to it that no one falls short of the grace of God. No one falls short. And this is actually referring back to the sin of apostasy. Make sure that nobody turns and rejects God and decides to do their own thing, and they fall short of the grace of Jesus in their life. So see to it that no one falls short of the grace of God, and that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble and defile many. Make sure no bitter root can grow and cause many to be defiled. So these two verses, number one, they're really talking a lot about salvation and how people will be in eternity with God. And the other thing is, the second thing is that this author was actually thinking, as he was writing this verse about the root of bitterness, the author of Hebrews was thinking about a verse that they had remembered from the law of Moses back in the book of Deuteronomy. And this law says this, beware that there will not be among you a man or woman, and get this, or family or tribe whose heart turns away today from the Lord our God to go and serve the gods of those nations. But that there will not be among you a root bearing poisonous fruit and wormwood. And so this author recognizes, even back in the Old Testament, as the Israelites were not wanting to go worship other false gods, is that this author is saying that the root of bitterness can be caused in a clan or in a family or in a tribe, that this does happen and that it can turn people away from the living God, and that where they may never follow again. And so what this author is really saying is our family may not see God if sin roots within. Our family may not be able to see the living God in us if the sin roots within. And so we don't want to be the people in our life who we cause our family to turn away. And many of us think, well, maybe, no, that wouldn't happen in my family, but it happens all of the time. It happens all the time. And many of us in here, we've experienced these things. You know, many kids and teenagers, and especially working with teenagers for the past 3 years, what I've realized is many kids and teenagers turn away from God because of their parents. Instead of seeing the dedication and the love for Jesus that parents may have in their life, they felt judgment, or they maybe never felt that they were good enough. And so in that, a root of bitterness springs up inside of them, and they begin to turn away from the living God. Or maybe for us in our family, we picked way too many theological conversations, or we picked way too many political conversations. And that frustrated people who were around us. And instead of just listening to people with loving ears, is that all of us can maybe think of an example in our life where if we want to pursue Jesus together as a family, where we can have a root of bitterness spring up just in about any place. For me, actually, in my life, I'm very, very blessed. I'm so thankful to God. My entire immediate family, you know, they follow Jesus. They love Jesus. But as I mentioned, my identical twin brother earlier, he's a really sharp guy, and he went to go to Bible college. Excuse me. Ooh. And then he went to seminary, so whoop-de-doo. And then he's getting his doctorate at NYU. Ooh, so smart. You know, and I'm over here telling jokes about man buns, right? Like, come on. And you know, so me and him, actually, we have a really interesting relationship even right now, is because as he's learned more of an education in his life, as he's pursued God further, as I've pursued God further, both of us have had a lot of tension because we've begun to see God and how he works differently. right? This could easily be a root of something that comes up. And so we're beginning to see how God works differently. And this causes for some awkwardness in our conversation, especially me talking about my job and his life. And so we always kind of come back and there's this weird tension. On top of that, something that we've also been talking about is, he lives in New York City. And so for him, he feels like I never call him. And I'm like, bro, phones go two ways. And then he says, well, you're ugly. And I say, we're twins. And so we have that tension kind of going as well, where we're like, I just feel like, you're not pursuing me. And, what are we? Okay. What are we? Define the relationship. And so this is, and so for me, things get, I just heard Andrews go, hey, hey. I love it. Oh gosh. And so for me in my life, man, things are getting kind of strange and there's a lot of tension that's being filled between me and my brother on the phone. But what's interesting is about a few years ago, my brother, me, I began to experience some issues just kind of in my life. I began to experience some stuff. And now he's beginning to kind of experience some of the same exact things. And so for me, in our relationship, something that I realized is like, man, there could be so much opportunity for tension and for bitterness and roots of all sorts to be coming up. But when this event started happening, I made a dedication kind of to him. And like in my heart, I said, I'm going to see this through. I am going to love you no matter what it takes, because even in our relationship, as we begin to vent to each other our problems, we're so busy, right? Like wanting the other person to listen to us. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a dedication that I'm only going to listen to him and I'm going to be there for him. And I stuck to it. I followed up. I was accountable through text. I was the one who was pursuing. For me, I was staying up till like 2 or 3 a.m. asking them questions. And he's this deep thinker who has so much knowledge and nobody knows as much as him. And so for me, in the moments, I sit back and listen when he needs listening. And then when he actually needs someone to go toe to toe and say, bro, you're believing a lie in your heart, maybe about God in this way, or you're believing a lie in your heart and your life about this way. And I'm just calling you out on that. And I watched just through the transformation where he said, Drew, this is so nice that you are actually here for me. Is that when we learn to love people, and I don't mean the cliche love them like Christ. I'm talking when you kind of sit in the grind and in the trenches of loving people, it really does something different, especially when it comes to family. Because for all of us in this room, if we belong to a family, as a follower of Jesus, I believe that following and loving Jesus is the most important thing in your life. Then it's to love your spouse, then it's to love your kids, and then it's to do your job to provide for your spouse and your kids. And so for us, family is one of the most important things, and yet all the time, we let roots just spring up and we don't address the mess. We don't address the mess. And what I realize is that problems only grow when we don't address the mess. The problems only seem to get worse. And so what we really need to do is to address the mess and to head it face on with a good dose of love. Because why? Because our family may not see God if we don't live the holy life. If we don't actually walk the walk of what we're saying. And I think for so many of us, we are not using what I believe is God's greatest weapon when it comes to this. God's greatest weapon that he's given us to combat. God's greatest weapon is not your knowledge and how you can inform a family member. God's greatest weapon is not the wisdom that you can provide for someone. God's greatest weapon is not the faith of yours that's going to move the mountains and move things in the heavenlies towards that person, right? Your greatest weapon, God's greatest weapon that he has given you is his love. God's greatest weapon for you to combat the roots that start within, the sin that starts within, the greatest weapon that you have is God's love through Christ. And Paul, who's an author in the New Testament, he talks about this. He's addressing one of the churches that he started in the city of Corinth. And God, in the Bible, he gives what are called spiritual gifts. And so this church was really mismanaging spiritual gifts because some of them were supernatural, some of them were natural. And so all these people, it was all chaotic and all disorder. And so Paul, he has to kind of instruct them to become more orderly. But what he also has to do is to say, hey, even if you had a God-given gift to you that's supernatural in some way, even if you have a God-given gift, it doesn't mean anything if you don't have love attached to it. It literally means absolutely nothing. All value is removed because people can tell when love is not attached. And so he's speaking to the Corinthian church and he says this. He says, if I were to speak If I were to speak in the tongues of men and of angels, even if that were possible, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all of the faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver up my body to be burned and martyred, but have not love, I gain nothing. Mom, even if you had the most faith in the world to move mountains so that Jesus could come be with your kids, and it's not done in the correct motivation of your heart of love, but out of your own personal agenda, then it's meaningless. Dad, even if you have the greatest Bible revelation and you want to sit him down and say, like, hey, so, like, this is what you need to know that God is saying to you. Like, even if you have that and your correct agenda and motivation of your heart is not love, then it loses the point. Even the millennials, even if you did get like some prophetic like inkling from God or some sort of word of knowledge and it had no love that was attached to it, then it's completely losing its meaning. Why? Because God's greatest weapon is love. That love takes care of the sin that's within and the root of bitterness that springs up in our life. And so actually, I saw this example done by a pastor in California named Jared Wilson. And this is kind of exactly what it's like if we don't have love in our life, but yet we want to be able to give people our opinions about what should happen or to try to address the mess and do without any type of love. This is kind of what it sounds like. Well, I really think that you need to rethink your political beliefs because this is what the Bible says. And I don't really care what you think. I really feel like God is telling me this, that I need to... I don't really understand why you have all these questions, but you can't just, because that's why, because then in the Hebrew it says that you have to really... So how do we combat the root of bitterness that maybe we've even developed for ourselves? How do we combat that in our heart? How do we actually give people the love that they need if we have a root of bitterness or any type of root that's sprung up in our life? And here's the answer. We love because he first loved us. We love because he first loved us. It doesn't happen the other way around. In fact, this is the very basis of our faith. This is the gospel of Jesus. While we were dead in our trespasses, Christ died for us, that he loves us. I love what one of my friends says. He says, it's hard to get close to perfect love and not feel loved. We love because he first loved us. I didn't do anything to earn it. I didn't do anything to deserve it. It is the reckless love of God that pursues me. That because he loves me first, that gives me the right to then go and receive and reciprocate that love. I even think about in my life when I have a center and I have a center on Jesus and pursuing that relationship with him, understanding what he did for me on the cross and that all of my shame is wiped away and how beautiful and magnificent it is that I get to spend eternity with God, that when I center my life on Jesus, my wife, who is my family, receives the benefit of that. That I'm able to love her with a love. I'm able to bear with her with great patience. I am able to be a man that I so often am not for her. Because it needs to be all about Jesus. Get the gospel. If you're wondering how to combat it, just get the gospel. He loves, and so then we love. I don't have to earn God's affection. I don't have to earn God's attention, but rather God loves me first, and that allows me to love him back and to love others well. One of my favorite stories was from a guy, his name's Matt Chandler, and he's a pastor down in Texas. And he talks about how in his marriage, as he started ministry, it was like the worst marriage ever. And, his wife was a proud Dallas girl and he was an insecure guy, who didn't have much of a family background. And so he said for the first 6 years of his marriage was awful. All they would do is fight. And he just had this philosophy. He's like, I'm not giving up no matter what. It's either this or death. We're not separating and we're not splitting. And so he was doing this radio interview, and this is what he was confessing to the radio host, and he was talking about how awful his marriage was for the first 6 years of his marriage. And the radio host goes, well, man, what happened on that 7th year? And this is what Matt Chandler said. He said, I decided to make a decision that I was no longer going to mention anything that she did. I was never going to fight any point, but instead I was only going to work on myself. What that didn't mean is it didn't mean that he was a doormat and she walked all over him. What it meant is that he humbly submitted himself. And he gave his life just to lay it down. And, he recounts telling this host, he says, I love my wife so much now. She's so dear and precious to my heart. In fact, I'm about to sneak home and give her a kiss on the cheek. And she's sitting in bed before I go back to work. And when you give your time, your love to Jesus and his healing power, it empowers you to love like you could never love. Would you pray with me? Father God, we thank you that it is about you and it is about your healing power. And Jesus, when we receive you and when we are with you, you give us the strength to love when we don't have the strength. God, I just pray for any roots or any type of bitterness or judgment or anything that's sprung up in a heart of a parent or a child or a sibling in here, God, that all of us would just carefully examine, because roots are hard to dig up out of the earth. They take a lot of manpower and labor and toil. And so, God, allow us to do the dirty work and to get into the root of bitterness. God, that we would be with you, that we would recognize what you did for us on the cross, and that can channel us and center us, and that we can center our life and be in relationship with you so that we can love people, that they can see you, God, so that when we live a holy life, God, people will see you and your power. We thank you in your name. Amen.
You're my constant in the chaos. You're my compass when the road is long. And you're my portion, never failing. For me, only Jesus. Let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. Let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. The riches of this world could never satisfy, so let my heart want for you. You're my center, should I wander, and you're my future, and you redeem my past in every moment, oh, and forever. For me, only Jesus. So sing that again. Yeah, for me, only Jesus. Oh, let my heart, oh, let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. Let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. The riches of this world could never satisfy. Let my heart want for only you, oh Jesus. Let my heart want for only you. And for me, it's only Jesus. For me, oh, it's only Jesus. For me, oh, it's only Jesus. For me, Oh, it's only Jesus. Oh, it's you and only you. Oh, we lift our praises. Oh, to you and only you. Jesus, undivided. Oh, it's you and only you. Oh, for me. Oh, and for me. It's only Jesus for me. Oh, it's none but Jesus for me. We cry, it's only Jesus for me. Yeah, let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. Let my heart want for nothing but you, oh, just you. The riches of this world could never satisfy. Let my heart want for only you. Sing it again. Let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. Let my heart want for nothing but you. Oh, just you. The riches of this world could never satisfy. Let my heart want for only you. Oh, Jesus. Let my heart want for only you. Let my heart want for nothing but you, just you. Let my heart want for the riches could never satisfy. Let my heart want
Before we wanted to conclude our time, I think something that would be so powerful is that even just in this time, if you just feel so led and if this is something that you'd feel comfortable with, I just want to invite that if your family is here tonight, I would invite you that maybe this would be a great time for you to be able to pray together as a family. We're actually about to sing a song that says that God is the God of miracles. And so even, what are some miracles that maybe that you want to ask God for, because he is the God of miracles? To begin to pray over, God, you are the God of miracles. This is what I'm asking for. Or maybe if you don't have your family here, who is someone in your family that you can be praying for? Who are the people who you maybe consider family that you're here with, that you can be praying for them over their life? So I just want to invite you into a moment and a space where maybe you can begin to pray to the God of miracles for miracles.
The blind to see, he's moving here in front of me. He's moving here in front of me. The one that made the deaf to hear, he's silencing my every fear, silencing my every fear. I believe in you. Yeah, I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. Yeah, I believe in you. I believe in you. Oh, 'cause you're the God of miracles. impossible. Oh, he's reaching out to make me whole, reaching out to make me whole. The one who put death in its place. Oh, his life is flowing through my veins. His life is flowing through my veins. 'Cause I believe in you. Oh, I believe in you. That you're the God of miracles. Oh, I believe in you. Yeah, I believe in you. That you're the God of miracles. Sing it louder. Oh, I believe in you. I believe in you, Jesus. 'Cause you're the God of miracles. Oh, I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. Oh, I know it's true. I know you're the God. You're the God who was and is to come. In the power of the risen one. The God who brings the dead to life. You're the God of miracles. You're the God of miracles. Sing it out. The God who was and is to come. Oh, in the power of the risen one. You're the God who brings the dead to life. You're the God of miracles. You're the God of miracles. Oh, I believe in you. Oh, I believe in you. That you're the God of miracles. Oh, I believe in you. Oh, I believe in you. That you're the God of miracles. And I believe in you. Oh, I believe in you. That you're the God of miracles. I believe in you. Oh, I believe in you. 'Cause you're the God of miracles. I believe in you. Oh, I believe in you. That you're the God of miracles. Proclaim. 'Cause I believe in you.
It's been a great night, guys. Thank you guys for leading us. Thank you guys all for coming. Before we dismiss and have some hang time outside, these guys didn't know we were going to do this, but Noah, who is leading us, and Cam, who was band leading today and shredding on electric, they are heading out to Bethel's ministry school out in California. They're leaving in like 2 weeks or less, just about 2 weeks maybe. And I've had the privilege, honestly, I've been at Kensington. My wife and I have been here only just about 2 years. And since I got here, they have been here. And so I've gotten to watch them grow. I know Drew's been really close with them too. But we just wanted to pray over you guys and send you out because you have made a mark on this place. You have been a gift to this place. You've been a gift to me. You've been a gift to Drew, I know, and to so many other students and people that have gotten to interact with you. And as they're receiving this, they're continuing to play. I'm just impressed. Your gift is growing. I think your gift is not something that is, I think it's something that God is incredibly proud of both of you guys, just that you would offer it to him and lay it at his feet. We are just really proud of your obedience to Jesus in this calling that you're accepting. And, we don't know what's going to happen. It's a 9-10 month program or so. And we don't know what's going to happen next after that.
Yep.
I would love it if you guys would come back.
Right.
But we'll see. We want you guys to be wherever God's calling you. And so we're excited for you guys to go. But I know Drew wants to share
and even too, these guys are amazing musicians. They have albums out in the back too. If you want to buy them, they have limited copies. So I'm plugging you guys that way too.
Also
but
on
I just
iTunes.
they're amazing. So I just want to pray over you guys and send you guys out, and we'll be done for time. But dear Father, I thank you so much for Cam and Noah. I thank you so much for their hearts of worship, that they genuinely love doing what they do, that you've given this to them as a gift, and they have enjoyed and cherished it. And so God, I just ask that you bless their journey for the next 10 months, knowing that you have favor upon their life, knowing that they love you. And God, I just pray that they'd have no distractions while they're learning more about you and exploring and pursuing you, God. And I just ask that you'd give them safety too while they're out there and on the way out and the way back, God. And we just thank you so much for what they have done and how you've blessed them in this ministry. So we love you. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Well, hey. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Come back this weekend because we're continuing our Demystify series. If you are a young adult, 18 to 29, we would love to meet you out in the lobby. We got my boy Ben Hamos seeing it. And if you want prayer, feel free to come on down to the front and just receive some prayer down front. Thanks.
You're like starlight in the dark, endless miles can't conceal you, and every glimmer is a spark, catching fire.